All right, I've got some insider information here from one of the economists for one of the major big four Canadian banks and what he thinks is going to happen to Canadian real estate throughout 2024. So from now until 2024, he made some predictions a couple months ago, and now he has revised those predictions as of today. So some good and some bad, and that's what we're talking about today in this video. I'm that Agent Kelly. I make Canadian real estate content, and if you enjoy that kind of thing, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like this video to help me out, and if you want to chat about buying or selling in Abbotsford or anywhere around Abbotsford in my market, you can use the first link in the description to book yourself right into my calendar. So a few months back, this is what this economist forecast looked like. So he said a 5% decline in housing prices on a national level from September 2023 until May 2024. So keep in mind, national, like for a 5% decline to happen on national pricing, you're likely going to need to see Vancouver and Toronto go down like 8, 10, 12% to get that 5%, because the prairies are likely going to be a lot more resilient than Vancouver and Toronto. Therefore, to average out to a 5% drop on the national basis, you're likely going to see Vancouver and Toronto fall more than, the prairies and other places in Canada. He also called for fixed rates to start dropping at the start of 2024, and we would see our first rate cuts by the Bank of Canada before the end of Q2. Now, I would say he's been pretty bang on about this because fixed rates have started falling, I think it's in the beginning of October or maybe the middle of October, and it looks like they're going to continue to do so. So although he was a bit early on that prediction, I'd still say he was correct. And then he said, that he expects immigration to set a floor underneath home prices. Well, now he has revised this prediction, and he has revised it to the decline in prices from now until May 2024 up from -5%, or I guess down from -5% to -10%. And again, this is national pricing. So to see -10% on a national basis, you're likely going to need to see Toronto, Vancouver, -13, -15, -18. And that's a complete guess. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But the point that I'm making here is that decline is going to be more pronounced in Vancouver and Toronto and their surrounding suburbs. Now, he's revised his projection further downwards because of how much fixed rates have gone up since the last projection. And although they're on their way down, they're still substantially higher than what they were previously. Next, despite a -10% decline on a national basis, he does think that the real estate market will see a sharp rebound in the second half of 2024. So market's going to go down, and then it's going to V correction back up, according to this. Now, this prediction makes a lot of sense to me. I personally don't think we'll see a 10% decline on a national basis, because that's a pretty big freaking decline, but I think 5% is pretty realistic. And that being said, I'm going to build the case for what this gentleman may think, why we're going to go down 10%. And the first reason being that, so typically at the end of a market correction, a typical market cycle is that at the very end of a correction, there's a phase called capitulation. It's where all the bag holders who do not want to be holding the bags anymore have waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited for prices to get better so they could unload their bags back onto the market, but the prices haven't gotten better, and capitulation is where these bag holders start giving up and selling at prices where they do not want to have to sell at. So a really good example of this, and I'll put the chart on the screen, is you'll see after the 2017 bubble in Bitcoin, you guys can see that flat period after 2018 where Bitcoin did nothing for about 6 months before taking another massive leg down. Well, that was capitulation. That's where all those bag holders eventually gave up. They didn't want to have to sell, but they held for like 2 years while all the market did was go down and down and down, and they finally gave up and just unloaded their bags onto the market. And after that happened, all of the sellers were officially out of the market. There was only buyers left. All of the sellers had been flushed out, and once all the sellers are gone and there's only buyers, the prices really only have one direction to go. So reason number one why I think a 10% price decline could actually happen, and he could be right about this, is because it would line up with a typical market cycle. We could see one more flushing out of the sellers and bag holders, capitulating and dumping their properties back onto the market before we hit that hard bottom, and then continue our way back up. Reason number two, I talk to a lot of sellers every week, and I know at least a couple sellers a week, and everyone's saying the same thing. Everyone wants to wait and see what happens. Everyone wants to wait till the spring to see if the market gets better, when the market's a little bit better, when prices maybe a little bit better, there's more buyers out there. but there's no guarantee that that's going to be the case, right? Like prices could be lower. A big risk is that if that's what everyone's thinking, that could actually end up being a big problem, because if everyone is counting on the spring market to be better and everyone waits till the spring market and lists their home at the same time, we get a massive influx of supply, but we don't have equal buyer demand to meet that influx of supply. Prices could go down really fast. So the second way that I actually see that playing out is like, one, capitulation, but two, if everyone's just planning to sell at the same time, that could actually be a catalyst for pushing prices down really, really quick, and then forming that kind of V correction where we bounce off the bottom and start our way back up. So it's really difficult to say what's going to happen. I make predictions because they're fun, and I'm going to make one before we go into 2024. I don't think 10% on a national basis is going to happen. Personally, I think he's going to be wrong about that, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me if it did happen. But I think more realistically, we might see 5% come off, 4 to 6%, somewhere in that range. And obviously that's not even a guarantee, right? Because who knows what's going to happen with fixed rates at the start of the new year. The Fed and the BOC might have to cut rates sharper and faster than people think, maybe into early spring, and who knows what's going to happen, right? So I don't think negative 10% on a national basis is going to happen though, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.